It's a shame there's no NTSC versions of the V2000 machines, because if there were, I think it would have done pretty well. Let's crack on. Hello and welcome to another Mr. B's Fight video, and this one's a little bit different insofar as we're looking at a Philips V2000 machine. It's a VR2324. I think we've looked at one of these before, but we've certainly looked at a few of these vintage of Philips V2000 machines, and I do quite like them, although they can be quite a challenge to repair, mainly from a parts point of view. But I've done a few of them, so yeah, that's hopefully going to be useful with this one. This is a repair from George. Hi George, hope all's well with you. And the complaint is that basically it starts up briefly, I think there's a click, and then it just shuts off. So what I'm going to do first, before we do anything, I just want to check that the Wi-Fi, the RIFA capacitor across the mains, and probably just take it out. To be honest, I'm not going to worry about putting another one in. I've actually found a lot of these machines never even had the capacitor put in, so I'm happy to go down that route. So yeah, let's crack on. Okay, so we've got 3 screws on the back to lift the top cover. So just small little screws. There we go. So basically I just want to get in there, and oh, something interesting going on here with this battery. Look at that, wow. It looks like we've got an interesting cap there as well. It's a capacitor I don't recognise. Okay, so yeah, let's get this out, and yeah, take it from there. Okay, so I've just lifted the board out, disconnected the deck. So it's obvious somebody's been in here and quite comprehensively been through this before. So sometimes there's a screw there. This one hasn't got that. Let's just flick this tab down, which usually breaks, to be fair. There we go. This just slides down. Fouling it slightly. There we go. That will just come out. Difficult to do one-handed. So yeah, there we go, and then another little tab there. So let's have a look. Has this got a cap? Nope. So there you go. No RIFA in there, and like I say, I mean, a lot of these don't seem to have it. They just don't have it fitted, which is actually great. But it's always worth checking. So yeah, that's good. So let's get this back together. So I've connected everything back up, so it's this, all the ones that connect the deck to this. It's this connector here, these two connectors with the white signal type cables, and that's, oh, and this one for power. What is interesting is at some point the socket from the transformer going to the power board, that has overheated and it's subsequently been removed and just hardwired or soldered in to the board. So I suppose that's fine. It can be quite useful to be able to unplug it, but yeah, it's obviously fixed an intermittent dodgy socket. I mean, this machine is also non-remote. You can see where the remote receiver would have been. Some of them actually did have all of the electronics for the receiver, so you could just plug the receiver in, I believe. But no, this one doesn't. You can see the socket there where it would plug in. And there's some components missing. Probably wouldn't take much actually to add remote control to this, but yeah, that's not our primary objective for today. So I think what I'm going to do is power it on, see what it does. Okay, so here goes. I don't think we've got anything floating about too precariously, so get a bit of mains lead. Ooh. We have smoke. Somewhere down there. Oh, well, that's a clue. Oh no, I can see what's happened. That got went in there. Oh, it's annoying. Well, that's not a good start, is it? Okay. Okay, let's try that again. It's tuner section. This, I can't believe I missed it. It's just touching the back of the board, so I don't know, we might get more smoke, we might not, but let's give it a go. Well, we don't seem to be getting anything now. Well, not that I know what it should be doing, but it's looking interesting. I might have popped a fuse, to be fair, so let's just check. Let's just check what's going on. So they're all fine. Yeah, so I've checked that tuning board, and I have literally just shorted straight across the 30-ish volt rail by the looks of it, and just atomize the resistor. Now that shouldn't make really any difference to what I'm trying to achieve with getting this machine going, but we'll see. I'll have to get the circuit diagrams out and have a look at that. I think it's a 10 ohm, but it's obviously quite burnt, and like I said, I've never had to really do any work on these tuning boards, so yeah, and they're soldered in, which I didn't even know. I thought they were plugged, but they're not. But I have taken this out because I'm going to keep doing it. I seem to remember doing it once before, but I got away with it. I was lucky. This time, not so. So we're all plugged back in. There's one there that wasn't quite in. Not that it really matters. So I suppose I'll try and power it back on again. It's just, there's a bit of a click. It runs the reels, or a reel, briefly. No display. I'm dubious about that battery. I think that needs to go. Be interested to see if there's any voltage on it. So I think I will take the board back out, and we'll just do some checks, I think. I'm going to disconnect the front panel as well. So these two, can't really get these two wrong. So there's another connector there, but I don't really need to take the whole lot out. I suppose we could. I need to lift this up a bit to get this to come off. There we go. Let's put that away for a second. And take the mains lead out. Don't worry, the power was off. And I'm lifting it up by the transformer because that seems to be an okay way to do it. I need to undo that grounding lead, and we'll take it out. Incidentally, this bit does get in the way a bit, but it does unclips. So unclips from here and here. So yeah, just unclips, simple as that. Let's move this back, and there we have it. Didn't put that back in very well, though. I'm going to have to do something with it because obviously I've popped that resistor, but that's fine. Not too worried about that. I'm intrigued to see if there's any voltage in this battery, so let's try that next. Oh, this actually doesn't look that special, does it? There's a bit of board rot. I don't think there's any like major damage there, but it's not ideal. So yeah, need to measure that battery to see if there's anything on it. Okay, so no, there's nothing on it. Nothing on it at all. So I think that's going to come out. I don't know if I've got one. There is a little bit of a thing that if the battery's not there, the processor can get confused, or the clock can get confused. But it should still work, I think. I can't remember off the top of my head. Yeah, anyway, let's get that out because a dead battery is not going to do it any good at all. Okay, so battery's out. Didn't look terribly special, to be honest. No, there's no charge on it at all. And I've cleaned up all the solder. There's an excess of solder there. Everything else looks okay, although I don't know. Might have to just double check some of these tracks. These aren't even used. So yeah, it looks like where it has got doesn't really make much difference to the machine anyway, so that's good. So I'm very tempted just to check a couple of the key caps that can go short in these. I know quite a few have already been changed, but it's still worth checking them, so I'll do that next, and we'll take it from there. Okay, so I've taken it completely out of the main case now and spread it out. It's all plugged in and all good to go, I think. So let's power it on. Well, we have nothing. It's exactly the same thing. Well, yeah, jury's still out on that battery, but yeah, okay, well, at least it's a bit easier to get to everything. Okay, so a few things to mention. First of all, there was a pad underneath this device here, a regulator, and it doesn't need one. These are the original Philips ones, ceramic isolators. This one, the tab is actually grounded anyway, so it's absolutely fine not to have an isolator under there. I don't even know why that's been put there, and it was badly fitted anyway. It was still grounding in one part of it. The clip is missing from the regulator. It really should have one, even though it's pressing pretty well onto the heatsink just by the sheer mechanical strength of the pins. So I'll have to see what I can do about that. I don't think I've got one of those clamps. I think I've got these, but I haven't got these. So that's a bit of a problem. I did also change these two capacitors. Just while I was in there, I thought I might as well. The ones that came out tested pretty much okay. They're a little bit low in value, but they were okay. And the bottoms of them looked fairly okay as well. So yeah, I want to check some voltages on there. But the 2324 manual doesn't actually have the power supply. And you can see, like the main board, for example, there's no legend at all. I mean, we have got some here. We have got some on the power supply. But it's really a very basic manual. It's just really filling you in on what specifically this machine has from a sort of control point of view, signal boards under the deck there, and that's about it really. Wiring diagrams, that's about it. If you have the 2840 manual, then that has everything in it, and the power supply is essentially exactly the same, this power supply board. So if you have that and the manual for this, you'll be okay. So that's all good. Yeah, so I think the next thing to do is check some of those voltages. Now I've actually printed out the relevant page with the power supply on it, so we can just check all the power supply rails. I was slightly concerned. It says 9 volts there, and there's 12 on it, so that's not good. Not ideal at all. But anyway, we'll do some voltage checks. I do wonder if we do have some problems with the power supply anyway. Even so, but yeah, I'm just a bit concerned that this might be toast. So yeah, let's crack on. Okay, so I've checked the power supply. I meant to press record, I didn't. I just got carried away testing them. But all of these voltages check out. 5 volts, 4.88, which is fine. 12 volts, a little bit high. 36 volt is a bit higher than that. One thing I did say as well, when I stupidly caught this onto the IF board, was that there's 33 volts on here. There isn't. It's 33 volts on the tuner. So yeah, totally ignore what I said there. It's just me having a moment. I'm really thinking that it's going to be the logic, and I do wonder what I'm going to find with that. I suppose we ought to just take it out, do a visual inspection. Like I say, I was a bit concerned because I had what it says 9 volts there, and it's not 9 volts, it's on there, it's 12 volts, and I just wonder if maybe a transistor's gone short and taken it, really. I am guessing this circuitry is not very resilient. I measured across these two caps as well. Both have 12 volts across them. So they're long screws, long self-tappers, and this should, with a little bit of manipulation, come out. Where are we? There's a little tab there. Yeah, there is. There's a tab on the side. I'm quite sure it on this plastic assembly here. There's a tab in there, so you just sort of pull it back and it releases it. We did a bad job with that, didn't I? But yeah, so I'll leave the keypad or the transport keys section. Or will I? Let's unplug them, because this should still work when it works without that connected. Super. And just see how they recycled the boards. You know, they just added features as and when they were needed for the different variants. Looks like there's a screw missing there, so someone's obviously been in here before. I'm pretty confident it doesn't need the battery in. I think if the battery's bad, it can cause problems. But having said that, I've had batteries that are bad in these, like back in the 90s when I worked on a couple of these, and they still fired up. It just, the battery was dead, so I don't know. Someone's actually taken this apart slightly the wrong way. You actually do it from the back, and then it sort of unrolls. So clips along the bottom, 4 clips, 4 candles, and then you sort of have to manipulate it so it comes out of the clips at the top. Turn it over and clip, 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 clip. And there we go. So I've got even more boards. It's starting to get a bit crazy, isn't it? But it is so cool how you can do this. You can just sort of lie out the whole machine in a row like this, just completely out of the cabinet, and power it on, and in theory play a cassette. You can get the SCART socket, which you still can, back there. Or RF if you're really old school. But yeah, and of course, I mean, obviously we've got the take transport buttons there, but you can take that out if you want to and plug that in, test it on the bench. And I don't know that many machines where you can do that, really, to be honest. So yeah, just think of the Grundig 2x4 2x8s with the riser boards, so you can diagnose the daughter boards onto the sort of motherboard slot in. So yeah, video on that, on several of those, to be honest, on this channel, and lots more to come as well. Yeah, it's actually quite fun to see it like this. So I suppose we ought to do some checks. Okay, so this regulator here, this actually comes from the deck unit. It's basically, what is it? It's 12 volts when the machine is out of standby coming in, and it's 10 volts back out. It's actually 10.2 volts. So this machine is out of standby. It's actually on, but obviously, I mean, I can't do anything because the logic's dead, but it is on. So it's pointing more and more to a logic fault. I really do think we've got something nasty going on here. It won't be the first time I've come across it either. I've noticed these machines are starting to get quite flaky in sort of the logic side of things. I don't know whether this processor might be dodgy as well, or could be at fault rather. But yeah, I really need to do some checks. I need to do further checks. I think this is just clock and driver. This is main system control. So yeah, I suppose we need to do some checks. So I've made loads of checks off camera, and I can see that the processor is actually working. I can see data. Clock's working, i.e. the clock for the chip. This chip here, I had a bit of a moment with this actually, because and this is another thing, the service manuals for these machines are really all over the place. So it was saying that on pin 24, which is here, where it says 9V, should be 5 volts, and it's not, it's 12 volts. And I wasted quite a bit of time just going through and just like, what's going on? You know, it's straight onto the 12 volt rail. Yeah, so it really threw me, but yeah, it is actually a 12 volt supply to this chip, not 5 volts. Yeah, I mean, everything just checks out fine as far as I can see, and things are trying to work. Occasionally when I turn it on, the LEDs will light very briefly and then go off. Power supply is absolutely fine. The 5 volt rail is actually a little bit low, but that's fine. It's like 4.78, so I wouldn't have thought that would cause a problem. So yeah, I need to do a lot more investigation, but I am going on holiday. I'm having a break, so I'm going to leave this one here, which is a slightly odd point to leave it in a way, but I'd be very interested in your comments on this. If you've worked on these machines, I'd love to hear your experiences with them, and with this potential fault. I mean, what have I missed? What could it be? What haven't I checked? Like I say, everything seems to be running, but it just is not actually starting up. I'm not getting any logic control. None of the buttons work. Voltage is checked fine, so it's just really odd. So yeah, by the time you see this, I'll be back from holiday. But yeah, share your comments. So, with that, thank you very much for watching. Sorry it's sort of left in such a bizarre sort of cliffhanger, but part 2 will be along shortly. So with that, thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in another video. Bye for now.